to the session on storytelling by young HR leaders. For this session, we have with us two young emerging HR leaders, Mr. Shivang Ganatru and Ms. Ruma Bindru. Mr. Shivang is currently the L&D manager at BPCL, an ambitious HR professional with an exposure to various HR domains and HR business partnering across widely different organizations like Kotak Mahindra Bank, Aon, and BPCL. He has even worked on certain impactful projects like creating a harmonized grade and compensation structure in an M&A deal, structuring the career progression framework, performance management, and likewise. Now, talking about Ms. Ruma, she is the CHRO of Zepto. She has also been part of Johnson and Johnson India. She is an she. I'm sorry. I think there's. Am sorry, sir. Am I audible?
You're audible,
Because
Ria.
I think
Go ahead.
there's
Yes, Riya,
some.
you're audible.
I can hear you. Go ahead.
I'm really sorry.
No worries.
So I'll begin from Miss Ruma since I felt the glitch. Um, Wait a minute. Okay, so yeah, sorry about that. Okay, introducing Miss Ruma. She is currently the CHRO for Zepto, a super fast growing startup that delivers groceries in 10 minutes through an optimized network of dark stores in tier 1 cities in India. Prior to this, she was VP HR for Nourishco, the RTD arm of Tata Consumer, and held roles of various responsibilities in Johnson and Johnson, India. She derives meaning in building communities that thrive and is an unapologetic inclusion advocate. With those illustrious introductions, we hand over the stage to our speakers.
Shivang, you want to start off?
I will start. Thank you, Ria, for this beautiful introduction. And I'm glad to be a part of this forum. When Agnivesh reached out to me to talk about something on the successful journey as a young HR leader, I was very humbled. 8-10 years into your corporate life, and you get a platform like NHRD, and which allows you to talk about your story as a corporate professional. So I will be very candid. I'm not going to talk about my successes. I'll rather talk about the lessons that I've learned through the journey. These may be through the successful ventures or events which I've done, or through the failures which I've encountered and I've learned from that. So let me talk about the story about the moment when I came out from my B school. And it has been a journey of a seesaw, right? There are happy moments and there are sad moments, and they are followed by happy moments. So when I was in the B school, I was the only one in my HR batch of IIM Ranchi to be given a PPO that year. And I was so glad. Like, that's some achievement, right? You're just out of campus and a PPO from an organization. And then when I joined the organization, I was posted in a location called Rajkot in Gujarat. So it's a small town, kind of a sleepy town, and you're sent there. I was a little disappointed as to Sara batchmates going to plum CO locations doing very interesting work, and I'm sent right back to a location like Rajkot handling a small territory of 1,500 people. What am I going to doing with my career? And I reached out to my HR head. He said, Shivang, this is all a part of the plan. For you to understand what the business is all about, you need to understand what the last mile employee feels. What does he do? And that was the Voila moment, the first lesson learned. For any organization, for an HR to be successful, you need to understand what the last mile person employee does. What are the role responsibilities like? After a couple of years, was moved to the corporate office as a reward of my performance, and then was handling a few interesting projects. In the quest of learning more, I joined a company called Aon. It's a consulting firm. And interestingly, at the same time, I also had an opportunity with a PSU firm. So I'm sure many of you guys will also face these dilemmas as to which organization to join, which roles to handle, where do you want to pivot your careers. And then Shivang took a decision that let's pick up the less traveled. Let's move into consulting. Let's give yourself an opportunity to learn something, to build your career in a different direction. The second week I joined, I was bombarded with 5 different projects. Imagine a novice, 3 years, 4 years out of the campus life and working on 4 projects, second week into a job, and I don't know how consulting works. And that was a moment of disappointment. यार गलत decision ले लिया, PSU job छोड़ दिया, आराम से बैठे होते. But you know what? These opportunities, or the way people call it, these challenges groom an individual as to how do you become a better professional. I very vividly remember a very interesting incident. The CEO of our organization at once told Shivang, I understand you are struggling. It's a natural progression for any newcomer in the organization. But what I like the most about you is that you are honest, you are dedicated and sincere in the work that you do. Please don't lose these qualities. And I'm sure sooner or later you will do fab in your career. And that instance 5 years ago has still stayed in my mind. Stay honest, make a true attempt to what you want to do. Obviously, like any consultant would do, we slogged 14 hours, 16 hours a day. And over a period of 1.5 years, I was able to create some credibility internally among the stakeholders as well as the clients. There are 2 important lessons I learned in the consulting stint. First, it's very important for any HR professional to know the business, to know the business model. As far as you don't understand the business, you will not be able to make any meaningful contribution to the HR field. Imagine sitting in the HQ in an AC office talking about what a field sales guy should be doing or how he or she should be rewarded based on the performance that he is doing. The first thing that you need to understand is, what does he do? What is the core proposition of the organization? What is my revenue model? Is doing more sales my model? Is the margins my model? I only want to build momentum as a startup will do, and I'm okay losing cash in the short term. The moment you understand the entire business premise and the model, you as a HR professional are empowered to give the right direction in whatever inputs you are giving to the business. A second most important lesson I learned in consulting was how to manage senior stakeholders. At the end of the day, these are all accomplished professionals in whatever right, whatever scale of the organization that they work in, and they know their business. How do you give that respect at the same time are not very submissive as an HR professional? That's a fine balance, which I believe will only come with time. And that lesson or the learning is still on for me on managing senior stakeholders across within the organization and outside. And then we said consulting ho gaya, what is the new challenge for me? And then there came an interesting opportunity with BPCL. Imagine a 70-year-old company working on an ERP for more than a decade, 2 decades in fact, trying to leverage data for HR decisions. And I saw that this is a good opportunity. Let's try to create an HR analytics framework for this company, which was a mandate for the role that I got in. But as I said, life is full of the seesaws. 3 months after I joined the organization, the government decided that they want to disinvest in the organization. And you understand the entire mindset now. The board business is focusing on the change. They don't want to focus on some new initiative which is internal to the organization, and the entire priorities change to BAU. So again, disappointment. 3 months down the line, जो करने आए थे वो कर नहीं पाएंगे. What will we do? And then we said, let's try to make the most of whatever is available. Let's try to do interesting projects. And as HR professionals, I'm sure people who would want to start a career shortly, you have to put forth yourself and ensure that you get the right opportunities. If you have to work extra hard, if you have to reach out to stakeholders, please do that. After a couple of years in BPCL and being mindful of the time, I'll quickly close in a couple of minutes without overshooting my time, that you need to be vocal about what you want to do. As a HR professional or any professional in the corporate life, you always have the option to pivot your career the way you want to. The only things required is intent and the ability. So a couple of years down the line in BPCL, I reached out to my senior HR leaders and said, "Okay, boss, I think I can still do more. You are not getting the maximum you can get from me. What is your ROI of paying me the salary that you are paying me? Why don't you put me on more interesting projects?" At the end of the day, if you think that Shivang can do only this, that may not be correct. I'm willing to slog. I'm willing to put in extra hours and efforts. But please utilize me properly. In the entire process, I get to learn something more. So this is where my story stands today. In quest of learning more, in the quest, in the journey of becoming a successful HR professional, I am still embarking on that key principles, competencies of curiosity, honesty, sincerity, dedication throughout. So, on this, my story is over, and over to Roma.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Shivang. It's been truly an inspiring journey, and I'm sure as we engage more, there'll be a lot more to learn from each other and from everybody who's joined us today, because I believe each of us has a story. It's interesting that the theme of the conference is metamorphosis of human resources. That also in these few years, wherein the only thing we've seen is metamorphosis of the world. And at some point, I think it has impacted all of us in some manner, because we all eventually are humans, right? So we all are going through a lot of morphing in our own way, in our own journey. So first of all, Anachari, thank you for giving me this forum. I'm not sure how much of the young HR leader piece I fit into. I report to a 19-year-old CEO, so the paradigms of young are changing very very soon. HR anyway today is not just a function in itself. HR is business. So HR, the paradigms of HR itself are changing quite a bit, and we all in the positions that we have across end up being leaders, come what may. Today is it's the world of leadership through and through, right? So for me, I think while I've been given the podium to share a story of my life so far, or work life so far, each of the 128 129 people who've joined in, I'm sure any of you can share these critical stories, because you all are practically living them each way. So let me pivot my story to where I think a big change in my life happened, and that was actually around the time I was, uh, you know, uh, I was actually selected for the NHRD, Ramcharan Award. So I think it was in year 2019, if I'm not wrong, which is about around the time I just had come back from my second maternity break, had a very difficult delivery, very bad post maternity symptoms, came up to lead enterprise functions for Johnson and Johnson. So a big stretch role, took up a lot more, and eventually it made me realize that it's okay to not be okay at times. It was a realization that sometimes we are so hell bent into not losing out opportunities in life, contrary to what we think we should be reaching out to, which is about new opportunities. Go It actually made me pause and say that there's a time when you really need to take care of your own self. There is a time when it's okay to take a pause and slow down. There is a time when it's completely okay to take care of your own self and be critically selfish. And I was a new mother at that point of time, right? So why this means so much, and why NHRE and Ramcharan Award means so much to me, is at that point I was critically thinking about taking a professional break, because as I told you, I had postpartum depression symptoms. I had two very small kids. One was like 3-year old, one was a newborn, and it was a huge role. And I was actually thinking about, just taking a step back and saying, I want to take a break. Just can't do it. It's becoming too much. And around that time, I went through the Ramcharan Award process. For anybody who's gone through it, it's a crazy process. It's the process that truly tests you on everything. And at that time, I think I was already around 10 years out of Excel. So it wasn't that I remembered the concepts and the stories and the formulae, and the questions were very very detailed, right? So uh, the fact that I made it, for me, it was an eye opener. It was an eye opener in many many ways. One, the fact that sometimes you feel, you're not doing enough, and I wasn't doing enough at that point of time. I was too stretched, wasn't delivering well. But at that same time, the fact that I was still good, I still had faith in myself and my ability, and there were people who were seeing it. For me, that was a very, very pivotal moment when I knew I was undergoing a lot of stress, and I was taking counseling and all of that. Even at that point of time, the fact that the core in me was still strong, and I could endure, and I could manage the situation a bit better. I think I got a lot of confidence because of just being an awardee. I think I got the fifth rank or something, and I was like the eldest. Though the journey mentioned is of young HR leaders, that year I was the eldest in the team which won. But for me, it was such an amazing pit stop, because it told me that there are times when we are down and out. That doesn't necessarily change who we are at the core. It's just a journey. There's a journey when you'll be up, there's a journey when you'll be down, and there'll be a journey when you'll be in a deep abyss. If I want to use the word shit, you guys might feel that's too much, but yeah, you're practically in a deep abyss, right? uh, but it's within you, that power to claim, power to change, power to understand, that don't get caught into this halla of being a successful person through and through. It's okay to take a break, to take a step back, recalibrate, because at the core of who you are still the same person who it was few years back or a year back. And it's okay if you are stretched today. It's okay if there is too much today. It's nothing to worry about. It's just a phase of life. And with the right treatment, with the right hand holding, with the right reprioritization in your life, you'll be fine. You might become better than where you were before. It's not just about taking a step back and becoming worse than where we were before. I think good, better, ugly, all of them eventually are these labels that we've been told to have with ourselves throughout life. But eventually, it's our own journey. So, coming back to the story of the journey of a leader, I think we all are leaders. We all have our journey, and we have to be very, very kind to ourselves as we go through, this crazy journey, because this journey is going to test us in every way, in our personal level, in our professional level. The journey of living and doing is always going to test us, come what may. But eventually, what remains with us and what holds us true is that at the very core, we have faith in who we are. At the very core, we are not changing with the skills, abilities we had, right? We may not be able to apply them at certain moments in time, but they are still a part of who we are, and that doesn't change. So for me, actually, that moment was a pivotal moment, because when I got that award, and I remember it was around September, October, and I had to fly down to Bangalore to get that award. And that moment in itself was such a pivotal moment for me, because on the way back, with the certificate and all, it gave me that point that I could actually take a break. I could actually take a break from work to say that I don't want to work for 2 3 years, or I could say that let me just recalibrate. I went back, I spoke to my leadership, I told them I am not doing these four things more that you've been asking me to do. I'm just going to manage this core. And I did it well. For a year I did it well, and then I took a crazy leap of faith when I took up a HR head role for Narishko. Narishko at that time was a joint venture between Pepsi and Tata, and Tata was just acquiring it. It was a small setup, and nobody wanted to, eventually, it wasn't something which was great, or anybody would want to be like dying to take that role. But for me, I wanted to test myself. Like, I was actually advised, saying that, you are with Johnson and Johnson. Like, you can go abroad, you can go to Singapore. That Mullah ki Daud Masjid tak wala story, right? Let's go to US, let's go to Singapore. Why are you going into an Indian organization? That also an organization which is a challenge today. And I was like, I just want to test myself. What's the worst that can happen? I'll fail. For someone who's already failed and come back, it's so easy and comfortable to fail again. So I would actually ask you guys, find an opportunity to fail. Find multiple opportunities to fail. It's like dar ke aage jeet hai. Have your have your drink in your hand and say, what, I'm okay to fail. And I think that philosophy has really helped me. It helped us transform Narishko even when I left. And even when I actually joined the role in Zepto, we didn't even have our first fundraising had happened. I actually signed the letter at that point of time, when I even first notification hadn't happened. Post that, we've had 2 to 3 successful fundraisers. There is a lot of interest. It's an org that we are building from the ground up, and there is so much to do. Like, while I'm having this call, I'm also checking whether the payroll has happened for the day, because we are just practically 4 months old. and we are attracting a lot of folks. So what's keeping me hungry is the fact that there are a lot more failures to go through, not successes, a lot more failures to go through. And every failure that I win over or fail with lessens my fear and makes me a lot more stronger in what I want to be and how I can enable others. Because eventually, I believe the purpose that we have in life is not just being successful ourselves. It's about creating thriving communities. It's about creating this set of 133 people, even if one thing resonates, right? That's the beauty of it all. That's the journey that we all are on. Humans were never isolated animals, right? We are never solitary animals. We are social animals, and we all grow together when we all grow together. Otherwise, there is no success. And I feel every time I overcome a failure, it helps me, pushes me a lot more to go back, course correct, check, help, coach a lot of other folks who I can. And not just because I know how to, but because I have gone through the very same journey and I know how it feels like to be down and out and have multiple failures. And because I've gone through that, I can actually handhold you to not make the same mistakes. So, with that, I'll sort of end the story. I wish you all a very happy, painful, crazy metamorphosis. This has been a journey. These 2 3 years have been a journey of morphing for everybody. But let's not forget that a butterfly flies. A beautiful butterfly emerges, flies only when it goes through a very painful process of being in a cocoon, shedding its own layers. So I really wish you all for that. Thank you. And I think we'll be with this. Oh, thanks, Shivang. But yeah, Ria, back to you. Anything else you want to
Yes,
share?
ma'am. Well, that was an extremely captivating session. Not to forget, highly inspiring too. The way you both have defined success in a different way. I know that all our audiences and attendees would be overwhelmed and inspired by the story. I would like to thank Shivang sir and Ruma ma'am for the amazing insight you gave us. On this note, we would like to wrap up this session and once again thank our speakers. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Now
Ria.
you all are now you all are requested to join the next session scheduled at 12:15 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Ria. Thank you, Shivang.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, everyone who
ma'am.
joined
Thank
Thank
in.
you
you,
so much,
sir.
Ria.
Have a happy
It was
weekend.
Bye,
great.
everyone.
Take
Same
care.
to you.
Bye bye.
Bye.